Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's astrologer Eric Rosen here for Viking Rising Astrology, the daily horoscope that's here to present the freedom passages that you can find throughout your day. This is for Saturday, January 13th, 2024. I got that moon going through Aquarius. So yeah, find those freedom passages. That's why I led with that, is because there is an opportunity to emotionally find what feels, liberating. I mean, Aquarius energy deals with the future, it deals with freedom, liberation. And so no matter what's going on with the restrictive energies of Capricorn, even though I think they're mostly positive, this can be a hard day where sometimes it feels like, maybe the weight of things with that sun going through Capricorn, Mars, that maybe we're still trying to find our footing and actually move certain things forward. There's still red tape with Pluto at the end of Capricorn as well. And so we're kind of getting a glimpse into the distant future of what it can feel like, where we actually create those emotional freedom passages. It's kind of the understanding that, like, we don't have to overanalyze how we're feeling. We don't have to let any challenges in life over dictate how we're showing up emotionally, and especially with people situations or being of service, being humanitarian. There's just opportunities to be like, no matter what's going on in the world, like, you can still find that freedom. And that's kind of like an old school shamanic understanding. And even something I think about, like, there was a book called A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and it was all about finding freedom even when things are tough, even when you're literally in a Nazi prison camp. Not to say that that's what that astrology is, but maybe sometimes that we fall out of alignment with gratitude, and we're wanting to have certain ego expectations, or we're all just tired. We're tired and feeling the constrictive energies that we've all been going through, and that Pluto's very much been putting us through. And I think the way to nurture that today and to innovate is actually by looking at our emotions. You can even look at this a little bit of like connecting with your friends, community, your family, self-care. It's like there's still things that we can do. Like, I think it's remembering that for most people watching this, it's like, just take stock for a second. Maybe it's just the top 3 things that are going good in your life, and the simple gratitude, and you look and see how much freedom you actually do have, even if there is this interesting psychological restrictive thing, or we're just continuously having to face our triggers and do this healing work over and over again, or kind of like, suffer imbalances when we're not looking at those things, and the universe is showing us where we're out of alignment and not really stepping into full integrity with that character development. We can still be free. Like, it's like, think about it like this: we didn't fight this hard for a spiritual awakening to start creating, I guess you could say, excuses or limitations on ourselves that aren't really there, that seems like they're very much there, but really it's just in our own being, of our own blocks and our own walls. We didn't do all this work to handicap ourselves, to fight with one hand behind our backs, to awaken to higher levels out of the matrix, you could say. And I think the easiest way to find that is like, what looks like freedom, what looks like connecting with others, what looks like taking your greatest fucking skill set ever and putting it into a longer term goal, or a career thing, or just something of achievement, and continue those pursuits. Or, maybe it's thinking about starting new ones, or, everyone's in a different cycle. It's like Capricorn brings up different hierarchies. So it's like, you have to discern, what season are you in terms of the cycle, whether that's of a project or a relationship, or it could be, a dialogue, a communication situation, health, wherever it is, right? And actually really dropping in deep to that story. I will say that one of the most consistent things that I noticed coming into this winter season, it was really was a time to embody that. I call it bear medicine, like the bear in hibernation, where no, yes, we still got stuff to do. We have responsibilities, but that's the understanding of the archetype of Capricorn season. The start of the winter is like, you restrict down and you do less, and you focus on what actually needs tending to, because the responsibilities are so much more impactful and meaningful to get through the winter season. So that's the old school understanding of it. Nowadays, it deals more with even just our own minds, seasonal affective disorder, depression, all these things, anxiety. And so if we can actually focus on the things that are giving back to us, planting those beautiful seeds of change that we know are creating new possibilities in our life, that's going to be where it's at. It's not going to come from getting too overly, excited about ideas that aren't grounded, just for an adrenaline kick. It's just, we have to, we don't have to, but I think it behooves us to look at what are the opportunities that are presenting us in the mirror. This could be a really good day for mirror work and shadow work too. If you're having trouble embodying that guidance, right, of freedom or connection or possibilities or, just overall emotional well-being, that it might be time to take a look at what are those Capricorn restrictions within. I think one thing it's hard to get away from in this astrology is that there's a long-term gain that comes from trusting that the inner reality is reflected in the outer reality. And so if we're seeing something as a negative or a challenge on the outside, there's no way past it, or, that's just our belief. I mean, I'll tell you the biggest thing I've learned as a Capricorn with Pluto going through this since 2008 over my 5 different placements in Capricorn is there's always a way. There's always a way. There's, the Grim Reaper is always giving actually a more divine way out. And it's when we own the integrity of ourselves and that responsible nature of our life force energy to see it's not so much meant to plan or use the mind to avoid discomfort, and find exits from transformation, but it's more to sink into what's the deepest fucking lesson coming up in your life right now. And then that is the way out. That's the way through, is going within and owning that power to be what did you come here to do? What is that ultimate responsibility? And I think there's shades of love in it, no matter what it is, whether your physical long-term destiny or your path of service, or just all these different components that are very representative of a life of purpose and destiny on this planet. And, if you want to look at it from a more of a modern sense, like a career, if you're having trouble in your career, if it's not going well, or it's negative feedback or challenges, maybe it's not purposeful. Maybe it's out of alignment. But I would highly recommend going back to the basics of gratitude though first. There's still a survival security basis to this reality that we live in and the rules to play by in that sense, as we're learning to transform and shed blocks that keep us from vibrating at the highest innate capacity that we can of things like love, service, connection, well-being. And I think we can't point fingers out into the world or, use coping mechanisms with all the Pisces energy to try to numb out from the work of doing this. It just delays us, it sets us back. I think it's just much better if we use this time wisely as we're going through the rest of this month, especially with Pluto finishing up in Capricorn, to just face the lessons. And I know we're all tired and it's one lesson after another, but this is the Navy SEAL spiritual energy, and it has been for a while, but it's a reminder to even some of the Navy SEALs out there that maybe want to hit the snooze button sometimes, or I would even say, the vulnerability aspect of, even if you have been doing really well, and just paying attention still to what's going on with you on more of a personal identity level, and still make sure that that's being put out into the public, and it's not this false projection of harmony and everything you're doing in life and your connections, and you feel all gushy inside when the sun sets every night. I think the truth is that we've all felt a little bit of something missing, and that's also what's the scent that keeps us going though too, to keep sniffing out what is it? What's that next level, or what's that next embedded block within me to keep going? And that's a Navy SEAL. It's the training. It's the, you're already good. You're already great at what you do, but it's still the application to take all the deep spiritual lessons and work that we've been learning, especially since 2019, 2018, 2020, but even as far as 2008, 2012, wherever the shift started happening in your life, there's been a lot of activations in Capricorn. As I've been saying, it's like, make it all worth it. And days like today, we can actually have an intuitive sense of why we've done this work. And even if it's not the motivating factor that carries us forward through our day, you know, we find a deeper why, we find a deeper reason to keep doing this work and to keep going with it anyway. And that, I think that's where the positivity lies, is that there's just some days that can feel tougher than others, from, you know, the overview of like the big picture of things and wanting things to go maybe a certain rosy way. And we just have to have faith that that's ultimately going to be the basis of it. It's like, spiritual or not, like, there's still an essence of the consistency and putting in the work and the effort in and grounding things. And luckily we have things like astrology and spirit guides to keep us on track, in order to, you know, remind us when we're out of alignment. And that's where I think the greatest healing is at. I think this is healing what I would call like the, you know, the wounded parts of the younger aspects of ourselves, what we call that inner child, inner adolescence, inner teenager, that, you know, like, this astrology means business. This energy in 2024 is all about, if you want your great manifestations, you have to be on the path of taking care of business. And to remember, like, I know I can seem sometimes like every day Pluto and Capricorn's making everything seem like a dire thing for an ambition or something that has to be done. And it's almost like kind of facing that energy a little bit and going that in some ways that can feel like that in this cycle, but we still have a long, long, long road ahead of us, you know, for the evolution of this collective of humanity. And how that looks in its full fruition, especially in the physical, is anyone's guess. Not even the heavens know that fully, because as above, so below, with the predictability of it. And this is the type of astrology that reminds us that even though there can be a prophecy fulfillment of new earth frequency and the light winning, that at the end of the day, we still have to put in the effort if we actually want to be on the field, and at a minimum have a front row seat for how all this new earth action is going down and how that affects, you know, these future generations ahead. It's all going to still come back to the self of this astrology and that personal mastery of like, how are you showing up day-to-day life, your relationships, your work. There's no escape. That this energy reminds us that there's awards for those that do it spiritually, and that participation trophies, I hate to say it, but it's like they come way later, and it's not in this reality when you get the participation trophy. And it's actually sad when you get it, because it's like you move on from this incarnation, and then, you know, you do your life review to see how you did in terms of that purpose, that greater level of ambition and service to the collective, and you're compassionately supported no matter how you showed up. But, you know, whether you want to call it karma or, you know, just how you shot your shot in this reality, this is the astrology that reminds us, like, it might seem like you have an infinite number of opportunities, and in some ways we do. That's God's compassion. There's always a new cycle to support us, but, you know, how many, it's easy to look back at the failures since 2008 and to see where maybe, you know, we should have chickadee checked ourselves before we rickety wrecked ourselves. And that we've learned enough of those lessons, both in the harshness of it and the philosophical lessons too, to have that integrity and go, you know what, Spirit, I am going to listen. I am going to tap in. I am going to commit to what exactly is being asked of me, and to not continuously be out looking for more answers when really we would just be finding more challenge to meet those answers when we already know, and it's time to stop looking for some way out and there isn't. It's just pure ownership of our power and what we're putting into this world. So I know it's a lot for a daily horoscope, but apparently that's what wanted to flow through today. So if you want to get a private astrology reading to see kind of like where you land in all this, you know, for those cycles and that guidance and some pretty quick changes that you can make in your reality to take you into, you know, kind of almost like in a positive way, get tunnel vision for that destiny, or how that shakes out in a job, relationship, money situation, the manifestation, the physical process of it. Hit me up, hit that link in that bio, and I will see you guys on tomorrow's horoscope. See ya.